What's going on, everybody? The Trifecta is back. 2 weeks in a row. We finally have our life together. Everybody is set. We're good. And it feels good to be back on the air. How's it going, guys? Tyrone, Tommy, how's it going?
Going good. Everything is looking up. I'm ready.
Yeah,
Back.
man. Born ready. Good to be back, man.
All right. So, like last week, guys, we're going to be doing a specialty episode. We're going to be talking about sports video games, esports, our favorite sports games, stuff like that. So it's definitely going to be interesting. But I do want to talk about the hashtag Sports Fandom Day that Back Sports page started. Basically, over the course of the last few days, people who work for Back Sports page, plus fans, friends, family, were able to post pictures in their favorite jerseys or with their favorite sports gear and promote their favorite teams using the hashtag Sports Fandom Day and hashtag Back Sports page. It was pretty successful. I mean, Tyrone was pretty much in charge of getting the posts up on the Instagram stories and the Facebook story, but it was a success. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, my second favorite jersey that I own, I bought yesterday, so I missed the last day of it. But Celtics jersey.
It should be a weekly occurrence. You got it, bro.
Weekly occurrence.
Sure.
We should do it a weekly occurrence. I bought myself a black and green Jaylen Brown Celtics jersey yesterday. That dude has been an absolute catalyst in, promoting change in his communities. He's been an absolute force for the Celtics against the Raptors. Much love to Jaylen Brown. Had to rep his jersey. Tommy, whose jersey you wearing today?
I gotta, I like to support the people who don't get as much publicity as they should. So I'm repping the Mets version of my dude Tim Tebow, one of the only players to ever hit a home run on the first pitch he ever saw. Dude's a monster in football and baseball. He's gonna take the Mets by storm. I'm telling you, just give it a few more years. He may be like 33, 34. It doesn't matter. I'm telling you, watch out. The Tebow mania is coming back stronger than ever.
Oh man, Tim Tebow, what a throwback! and Ty, I know what jersey Ty's wearing, but Ty, tell the fans, tell the people.
The GOAT, man.
Yes.
MJ. Finals jersey. It was a gift from my godparents. Love them. Shout out to y'all. Yeah. I'm ready.
So for everyone watching, again, don't forget, go on Twitter, go on Facebook, go on Instagram, post pictures with your jerseys, post hashtag sports fandom. To answer Keon's question, Tim Tebow does not play football anymore. After a somewhat lousy career, we'll call it.
Hey, now, he won a playoff game, man. I'm telling you what.
Aside from one playoff win, he switched to baseball, and he's actually quite a bit better at baseball than he was football, I'll say.
Ooh, I don't know about that one.
I
don't know, man.
I think he is.
But
Keon, thanks for the question. Anyway, guys, so let's get right into this. So, sports video games, they've been something different every year, right? And everyone say apparently Madden is getting a lot of hate this year. Madden's getting a lot of hate. A lot of people are hashtagging Madden to drop EA because EA has not done that franchise justice. I want your guys' thoughts on that. I haven't played the new one. I haven't really played a Madden game in a few years. So I want your guys' opinions on, kind of what's going on with that.
Yeah, this is the first year since 2005 I did not purchase Madden. It's bad. It's bad, dude. I mean, I played the free trial or whatever, like the 10-hour trial that you get with EA Access. It's the same game, man. I love Madden. I love football. It's exciting that we're finally getting into football season, but they have the same Super Bowl celebration that they've had since Madden 17. So that's a problem. I mean, there's a lot of features, a lot of the people who are, saying the NFL should drop EA and that Madden, we need a new football game. It's, they've had features in games from 10, 15 years ago that aren't even in the game this year. And here's to hoping that it finally, the NFL finally sees something or EA finally makes a better game, because I will not be one of the people who purchases Madden this year. It is not my cup of tea. After a long time of playing Madden, it's just not as good as I was hoping.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that, Madden was going through some PR issues. I haven't bought the game in about, I want to say 4 or 5 years maybe, just because it's kind of cookie cutter. But my online gaming experience did start with Madden, and they got to switch it up. Apparently, according to Tommy, they got to get some new celebrations in.
Heck yeah, they got to do a lot, man. They got to do a lot more than just the celebrations.
Yeah.
So that similar to Keon, I haven't purchased a Madden game probably since Madden 05. I mean, I just, for whatever reason, as much as I love sports, watching sports, writing about them, talking about them, sports games just never really held my interest. I think my favorite sports game of all time was NCAA 04 on the PS2. That might have been my favorite game of all time. But I never got big into sports games. So the last sports game I actually tried was NBA 2K20 because it was free. And it was cool. Like, it was fun, but it wasn't anything to write home about. And a couple of my friends were talking about the new Madden, and they were severely disappointed. They said that even a lot of the things, it was so recycled that it's like you would still see banners for Madden 20, and we're on Madden 2021. So it's, a little, I guess, strange, if you ask me.
The menus are the same. I mean, there's just a different coat of paint, honestly. And I've always been one of the people who's like, you hear a lot of times, oh, it's just a roster update that you're paying $60 for. And I've always been kind of one of the people who's, defended against that. And it really is just a roster update this year. I mean, there's nothing really that sets the game apart from last year and that makes somebody want to buy the new copy. I mean, I got a PS4 this past year and got into MLB The Show. I'm a huge fan of like the Ultimate Team style modes, Ultimate Team, My Team, and MLB The Show's Diamond Dynasty mode. I mean, just blows Ultimate Team out of the water. It doesn't even close with the amount of content that they give. And, like I said, here's to hoping that EA or somebody new can step up and make a better football game, because, the NFL is the number one watched sports brand for a reason. They're the number one league in the entire country for a reason. So like they need a good sports game and something that brings back like the old days, Madden 2005 and Madden 2011 and 12. I mean, those were the good old days for me. So hopefully, there's something new coming up on the horizon.
I did read something a while ago about apparently the NFL is going back to 2K. Supposedly, they're supposed to be doing 2K.
I actually wrote an article on that, so check that out.
So, do you think that's going to make for a better game?
It should. I mean, 2K, they do pretty well with their games. They're also kind of cookie cutter, especially like 2K20. 2K20 was cookie cutter from 19. So they didn't change the part, but I'll be glad to see the updates that they do for 21.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I think will be interesting is 2K is doing. They can't do a simulation game, kind of like the way Madden does. So we've seen them do, NBA Playgrounds or the new WWE Battlegrounds, kind of like the arcadey style game. So I wonder if that's the way they're going to go, is have like an arcadey style NFL game, maybe in the style of NFL Street, which I would love. I love that they have the NFL backing them, and that they have them actually in their corner. So, man, I'm just hoping we need a new football game sometime soon. Here's to hoping NCAA comes back.
So, we're going to take a quick pause right now from talking about our sports video games. Tyrone has brought in a guest, so we're going to introduce him right now. What's going on?
What's going on, guys?
How's it going?
So, Ty, want to introduce us?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is my guy Kendall. Actually met him like a month ago, maybe. He podcasts for East West Football Podcast. He said he want to talk some ball, wanted to
Sure.
expand his horizons from just football. So there's Kendall.
So Kendall, do me a favor. Tell everybody watching and who's gonna be watching a little bit about yourself, where they can find your work, stuff like that.
Kendall, I'm 27. Like my buddy Tyrone said, I'm a co-host on the East West Football Podcast. We've been doing the podcast since the beginning of the year, since like February. It's me, Fidel Barraza. He's in California. We're all, of course, virtually. Jerry Martinez, he's out there in Texas. So I mean, we've been doing a podcast for a while. We've had a lot of big guests on. We had Coach Hugh Jackson from the Cleveland Browns. He came on a couple weeks back. Matt Mieko from the 49ers. He's a 49ers beat reporter. He came on. TJ Husmanzada, Dexter McCluster. We've had a lot of guests. You can check us out on YouTube at East West Football Network. We do like 3 podcast shows a week. So, I mean, this week here we kind of taking a little vacation off because one of my co-hosts, they're going through like a family emergency. So, we just been grinding. And, I mean, we also got a website, East West Football Network. We got like 25 to 30 scouts and writers up under us. So, I mean, we're doing a lot of big things. We just got to continue to grind and take it day by day. But I've been loving it so far, man. I love it. We don't do a live podcast. We're on Apple and Spotify, so we record it and then we put it out. But I see what you guys doing, and it's great. And I appreciate Tyrone for bringing me on.
No, absolutely. It's our pleasure to have you on here. So I'm actually a part of the football podcast myself. I do the Zero Technique Football Podcast with Ryan Stern, and we have a somewhat of a cycling third member on that show weekly. We go on every Wednesday. We've had some pretty big guests, but that's awesome. It's nice to talk to somebody who does another football show. So I mean, I want your sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Intake and your input on what you think is who's your picks for the Super Bowl, stuff like that.
Man, that's funny. That's funny that you brought it up because I was actually just thinking about because I had a feeling y'all might ask me that. But right now, as we speak today, on this Saturday, we're less than like 4 or 5 days from the season. In the AFC, I'm a Patriots fan. So, of course, I want to go with my guys. But
so am I. I'm a Patriots fan, too.
Yes, I want to go with my guys, but I got to be a realist. You know what I mean? So, I don't think this year we're going to be there. It's going to be an interesting season for us, though. But if I'm speaking from a fan perspective, I'm going to say the Patriots. But if I'm speaking from a realist, I'm going to say the Kansas City Chiefs will represent the AFC. And from the NFC, as much as it hurts me to say it, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will represent the NFC. Yep. Watch out for the Cowboys. I like the Cowboys too. I like them a little bit, but watch out for the Cowboys this year. I think they're gonna have a big season. CeeDee Lamb's coming in. Their defense, they loaded back up on defense. They might add Earl Thomas. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're like your all-star team. They're loaded.
Right.
They just Fournette, Godwin, Evans. They got 3 tight ends. So, I mean, they're deep. And that defense, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense is young, but it improved last year going down the stretch. So, I mean, you can look at it's a lot of wild cards. Keep an eye on the Vikings, too, the Minnesota Vikings. I think they're going to be pretty good. I think they're going to be decent. Green Bay, man, you never count out Aaron Rodgers. I know my buddy Tyrone, he's a Bears fan. I like the Bears roster, but I feel they need some more weapons. I mean, Trubisky, he's from North Carolina, he went to school at UNC, but I'm in North Carolina. I forgot to tell y'all that in the introduction. But yeah, Trubisky, I think Nick Foles would have been better off starting this season for the Bears. And then if Nick Foles struggled, then you just go back to Trubisky. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens there, but keep an eye on the Vikings this year.
Man, that's crazy. I feel like I'm talking to myself right now because how many times have I said all this same stuff?
Man, listen here, man.
If you're going off the offseason, the Buccaneers won the offseason.
Absolutely.
So. The only thing, like my little brother is a Buccaneers fan. We hear a lot of the off-season winners. We hear that a lot each year, and it always seems like they struggle. I've heard the Buccaneers, thrown around a lot as an off-season winner in past seasons, but man, I mean, that defense for as much as credit as the offense is getting, there is some mean players on that defense. I mean, Levante David's still one of the best. You got a young cornerback in Sean Murphy-Bunting who's playing really well. I mean, Justin Evans is a good player. they got a lot of pieces on that defense who could really, take the load off Brady and let him, with that offense. I mean, we all know that offense is going to score points, especially even without Fournette. Even if they didn't even get Fournette, now they bring in a guy who can, completely change the game inside the tackles and also still has a little bit of breakaway speed to get to the outside. I mean, he is going to be a great piece and a great compliment to Brady in that offense.
Yes. Real quick, Jared, I know you're a Patriots fan. What do you think of the Patriots' direction? Like, I mean, I think I was a Jared Stidham fan. If you listen to some of our podcasts on my other show, I was a big Jared Stidham fan. But with Cam Newton, my thing about him is he's not accurate. His footwork, his mechanics are sloppy. And I mean, I don't like Cam Newton. I'm a Patriots fan. But I think us, the Patriots, I'll speak from a fan, we need more weapons for Cam Newton. I mean, we need more weapons. There's no way you can throw him out there with Julian Edelman being your number one, and he's a slot wide receiver. You got N'Keal Harry, and who else? I mean, who else? Who when the defense comes out there, who they gonna say, hey, we got to take away this guy? There's nobody.
So I'm not going to disagree with that at all. But I am going to tell you, I am a huge Cam Newton fan. I've been a fan of him since he was drafted into the league. When he came to New England, I had called that months in advance. I knew it was happening. So obviously I was excited. I do like Stidham, don't get me wrong. I think Stidham is a great piece for the future. But for right now, I think Cam is the guy. It's one of those stories I'm not going to disagree. Like, he's not the most accurate passer. His footwork can be a little sloppy, but when he's healthy, he is in full command of his footwork. He's great on the ground. And when his shoulder was healthy, even though he wasn't the most accurate passer, he definitely wasn't inaccurate. So I feel like inaccurate's a little bit of a stretch. So I think right now where Cam Newton stands, right, he's had a couple years to get right. He got his shoulders right, his foot's right. He had an elongated offseason. He didn't have to play in any, preseason games, stuff like that. And he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder. He got a dirty deal with the Panthers. They, wrongfully, they were telling him they want to make things work with him, and they cut him. I think, he has something to prove. And I mean, you're a Patriots fan. You know how much volume it speaks for him to already have been named a team captain. That's huge. They don't just really give that title to anybody. And when you think of who the Patriots captains are, they're not really people that you think of when you think of the Patriots. Obviously, as Patriots fans, we do, like Matthew Slater, the McCourty twins, but you don't really think of those guys if you're not a Patriots fan. And so,
what do you think about the wide receiver position?
So I think our wide receiver position, I thought it was dumb that we got rid of Mohamed Sanu. I'm going to say that right away. I think it was stupid. I don't know why. I mean, they must have something big planned, I guess. But there were rumors about us potentially trading for Alvin Kamara. I don't know the likelihood of that, but I think we're going to be okay. Obviously, our playbook is going to revert from a pocket passer like we had in Brady. So we were able to utilize players like Julian Edelman, N'Keal Harry, Jacoby Myers, Philip Dorsett before he went to the Seahawks. I think with Cam, we're going to have a lot more of a rushing attack. I think it's going to be we're going to see a lot more wildcat plays, stuff like that. We're going to see him and Sony Michel, him and James White on the field a lot. Because the type of back that James White can compare to the type of back that McCaffrey is. Granted, the talent level is by far different. Christian McCaffrey is infinitely more talented, but they open up the same type of plays. And so it opens up Josh McDaniels' playbook. So I think we're going to see a different type of offense. But I really think N'Keal Harry and Jacoby Myers are going to come into their own this year. Again, it has to do with that kind of motivation. They were counted out last year. They're busts. They're not good. I don't know why they wasted a first-round draft pick on N'Keal Harry. But the thing was, not only was he injured, there were a few bad calls against him, like that touchdown against Kansas City that was counted as out of bounds. Little things like that, it adds up in a player's mind. And when fans are counting him out, he's going to come back with that type of vengeance, similar to what Cam Newton's going through. So I think we're going to be okay at wide receiver. I don't think our passing game is going to be anything amazing, but I wouldn't count it out.
Well, I couldn't agree with you no more. I was witnessing a new move because if you read the reports out of camp, he couldn't separate. I mean, ever since he got hurt last year against the Eagles on that punt return, I mean, he had that one big game against Baltimore. That was just 10 catches for 80-something yards. But against the Eagles, he got hurt. He messed up his ankle, and he hasn't been the same since. He had off-season surgery, and he can't separate. They say he couldn't even separate from an undrafted cornerback in camp this year, and that's never good. But I think I'm a big N'Keal Harry fan. I think he's going to have a big season, and we're going to need him to have a big season because we don't. I mean, it's Julian Edelman, and that's it. Everybody else is a bunch of unprovens. Jacoby Myers from North Carolina went to NC State. I like him, but I need to see a lot more from him. I think Belichick has something up his sleeve. I think maybe he's about to pull off a trade or something. And listen, I'm a big Dez Bryant fan. He's out there. He's waiting. He's on the couch waiting. Go get Dez Bryant. If Josh Gordon can get all these opportunities, I mean, Kevin White just got signed to the 49ers. You may tell me Dez Bryant can get signed to it, can't make a roster? I mean, it's just something to think about. But I think anything off the street would be better than what we got right now. Because if I'm a defensive coming out there right now, I'm gonna crowd the box. I'm gonna contain Cam, and I'm gonna play man-to-man against everybody's out there against the Patriots. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play man-to-man coverage. You know, Julian Edelman, he's 34, 35. He's gonna be Edelman. He's gonna get his catches. I mean, it's hard. He's great. But I'm not scared of nobody else. I like the tight ends that we drafted, Dalton Keenan and Devin Scott, but they're unproven. We got to see something.
Right.
So Michelle, Damian Harris. I mean, let's see what the running game could do. But if I'm a defense, I'm stopping that run, containing Cam Newton, and I'm gonna force you to beat me outside with your wide receivers.
So there is one wide receiver that I think a lot of people tend to forget, Damir Byrd. He actually played with Cam Newton, and they had somewhat of a rapport in Carolina. I believe it was 2016. And Damir Byrd is a solid receiver, in my opinion. But again, he was one of those guys. So similar to Mohamed Sanu in Atlanta, he was kind of overshadowed by the talent around him at the time. And I mean, you know, Mohamed Sanu, I'm not going to sit here and say he's a bad wide receiver. He got injured. He wasn't the same after that. But before that, he was always a solid second option. He was never the number one guy, but he was always the second option. But he got overshadowed by Julio Jones and then Calvin Ridley coming into the league. So I feel like a lot of people are forgetting about Damir Byrd, and he had a similar thing in Carolina where he just kind of was overshadowed. And so you put that with Cam Newton where they already have a rapport and they're already familiar with each other's play styles. I think that's going to be a huge help too. So that's going to be interesting to watch. But I think – so I'm going to give you my opinion on what I think this year is for the Patriots. And then we'll move on to something else. I'm sure Ty and Tommy have a lot to say. But my opinion on this season for the Patriots isn't about winning. It's about Cam Newton proving himself. If Cam can prove he's healthy, make the plays, get the passes off, get the, you know, the running, the yards, whatever. It doesn't matter if the Patriots go 8-8, 9-7, 7-9. That's not what the goal is this season. The goal is to make sure he is healthy. If he is healthy, if he is stable, they are going to sign him to an extension, whether it's 2 or 3 years. It's not going to be a huge contract, but it'll be something. He'll find a home in New England.
What's your win total for the Patriots this year?
So mine personally, I think we're going to be 10-6.
That's what I said.
But I don't think. But like I said, even if they go less than that, right, 9-7, 8-8, that's not what's going to matter. It's going to matter about, is Cam Newton healthy? Can he play a full season? Yes, he looked good doing it, even when we lost. Fine. They're going to sign him to a 2 to 3 year contract extension after the year. And then right now, the Patriots have $37 million in cap space. They started with $2 million. Next year, they're going to have another $94.5 million. So add that together, they can go get whoever they want. And so I think that's what this season is. It's going to be a test. Is Cam Newton healthy? He's healthy. Good. We have our quarterback for the next 3 or 4 years. Boom. Now we add pieces.
I think for the future, we're set cap-wise. I mean, we got a lot of draft, but we're set for the future. I think this year is just going to be, if we make the playoffs, we're prepared for next year. I think it's going to be.
Right. Anyway, enough about the Patriots. I know these guys are sick of it. Tommy's a Broncos fan. Tyrone's a Bears fan. So let's get on with it. I know Tommy was actually mentioning that he has a buddy that works for East West Football out of Indiana.
Yeah, I do. I don't know if you know Ike Durham. I think he's one of the writers for you guys.
Hey, Isaac, this is no lie. Isaac, we just on our podcast last week. We're going to put it out in
Yeah.
Isaac is great. I mean, he's a fantasy guru. I told the guys, man, hey, once we get going, we're gonna have to offer him like a big like a Mahomes contract or something like that. He is good, man. you go check out our website, he's a gem. We cannot get rid of Isaac.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, Isaac. I will. I tell Isaac that you asked about him.
Awesome. Yeah, he's a buddy from college, so that's all. That's good. I'm glad he's doing well. I've been reading some of his articles, reading some of you guys' stuff. You guys do a really good job. So it's awesome, man.
So this episode we're talking about our favorite sports video game. So I don't know if you're a gamer or anything like that, but what would you say your favorite sports game is?
I play Madden almost all day, every day, twice. I mean, I play Madden. I can play basketball, but I'm not good at 2K. I play a little bit of UFC, MLB. Of course, you play card games and other games, but I'm a big Madden guy. So Madden's gonna be at the top of my list on any gaming list.
All right, so that actually brings me to my next question for you. So we talked about this right before you came on the show. Tommy and Tyrone both gave their really good opinions about it. Apparently, fans hate the new Madden. Apparently, it's really bad. And they're basically trying to boycott for Madden to drop EA. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, from everything I've heard is that it seems like they really just updated the roster and didn't really change anything else about the game.
Well, I'll say this: Madden is that's basically what they did, but I think it's a little more smoother. I know it seems like we say this about every Madden, but it's a little more smoother to me. I mean, I think it's tougher to run this year. I think it's more easy to pass, but tougher to run. That's what I think. Cause I like running I'm gonna tell you something. I like running halfback stretch to the left. So that's how I like to play. So whenever you play me, just watch. I run that play a lot. So and it's a big part of my running game. So it seems hard. Now you can run it that first time, but you're not like on the previous Madden. You can run the same play 2, 3, 4 times and get like on this Madden. It ain't happening. You can't do it on this Madden. So I think it's easier to pass. And like last year, I felt like it was hard to pass, but easier to run. It goes back and forth. The rosters, of course, they update that. I haven't really got into playing the yard yet. I haven't done that yet. I just be playing online head to head against a lot of friends and things like that. But I think there's no major change. I think the receivers versus the cornerback, the matchups they're a lot better this year. Like the receiver, last year, it seemed like the receiver win every jump ball and every matchup. This year, it's a lot more even. So that's like the bit, and then the defense is I think it's harder to pass rush this year. I think because I play with the Cowboys a lot, and they have a fierce defensive line. And DeMarcus, I don't know if I got a sack yet with DeMarcus Lawrence. It's hard to. I feel like pass rush. That's my opinion. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or what, but I gotta get back. As soon as I get off, I'm gonna get on Matt. I'm gonna go hop in that lab and see what's going on with that.
Fair enough. What about you, Ty? What do you got for us?
So I'm gonna start with SSX Tricky, man. I don't know why, but I can't get that game out of my head. The song, the intro song that they have is Grammy Award like winning type of song for a video game. It's just something that just screams childhood to me, So that game right there is amazing.
I think if I had to pick like my childhood like game that I always went to for a sports game, it would have to be Blitz the League.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a throwback right there.
So like for me, I said earlier in the show before you came on, Kendall, I'm not a big sports gamer. I'm a big gamer, but I'm not a big sports gamer. I haven't really played a lot of the newer Maddens. The most recent game I played was NBA 2K20, and that was the first sports game I played in probably 10 years. And I didn't even play that for long. I played it for like a couple of weeks while I was waiting for basketball to come back. But I'm a big fighting game fan, and Mortal Kombat is my favorite fighting game. So when you take Blitz the League and you have people having their spine snapped and their arms cracked, I was like, this combines Mortal Kombat with my favorite sport. So I'm just going to put it together. And I thought it was fun. It was a fun game. It wasn't great, but it was a fun game.
For sure. Yeah, No, I mean, I play too many sports games, but the game that kind of like screams childhood for me, I'm still a huge wrestling fan, always been a big wrestling fan. I don't know if you guys were, big into wrestling or whatever, WWE and stuff, but WWE SmackDown, here comes the pain, man. Back when Brock Lesnar was the big guy on the show, I mean, the roster was great. I mean, it had everybody that you'd want. I mean, you could jump off Times Square, like the building, and like do a moonsault onto somebody. Like you go and just do the craziest stuff. And I mean, like that's what I want to do. Like when I sit down and play a game, I want to be able to just sit down and have fun. And for the first time, and I think honestly the last time I've had fun in a WWE game, is just that was it. There was so many players, there's so many wrestlers that you could choose that were a big part of me growing up that I watched. John Cena, and then you had the classic guys like The Rock and Stone Cold and stuff. So I loved it, man. That's definitely got to be something that reminds me of my childhood for sure.
So there's one game that I do have to take a moment to honor it. It actually just got its remaster released yesterday. It's
Tony
a sports
Hawk.
game. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. Not only did that game have the GOAT soundtrack of any video game ever, it was just so much fun. It's so memorable as a kid. You go into the oh my god, those games were so good. And it got re-released yesterday. I actually, fun fact, I woke up with an extra $700 in my bank account yesterday. So
Making money moves, man.
Yeah, right. So I'm about to go buy that. But I'm assuming you guys all played that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I got the re-release yesterday. Oh man, I'm so excited to play it.
You haven't played it yet?
No, I've been busy, but man, I'm excited. I love Tony Hawk. I used to those were the games that got me into I got into Skate 3 and stuff like that in college, but man, Tony Hawk Pro Skater just brings back so many memories. It was just something, again, one of those things where you could just sit down, have fun, and play, man. I mean, just lose yourself in trying to, beat your score, get higher scores on challenge and stuff like that, man. It's so much fun. I'm so glad they remastered it.
So I need to ask, is that considered a sports game? And for anybody watching, feel free to leave a comment if you think that Tony Hawk Pro Skater is a sports game or not. I say it is, because, I mean, they have skateboarding at extreme sports competitions. So it's hard to count out. Same thing with like BMX, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it's for sure a sports game. Like you said, they do it for they have like competitions, they have sponsorships, all of that. Scoring system, and I think anything with a scoring system should, be considered sports just because there's a goal in mind. Just to talk about my experience with the Tony Hawk games, I remember the one set in New Orleans a lot. I have family from New Orleans. Shout out to them. And I would just try to map out, the French Quarter, go around Bourbon and, mess around in one of the clubs on Bourbon, do a bunch of tricks off of the historic graveyards that I always talked about. That one was really fun for me just because I had a connection to the city itself. So that one was fun.
To get off topic for a second here, that's always kind of like the common theme of video games, isn't it? Once you find a game that takes place in your city, it's always different. So like for me, it's not a sports video game, but Fallout 4. I live in Boston. Fallout 4 took place in Boston, and you actually, the main city is Fenway Park. They turned Fenway Park into, the main city. And that was just the coolest thing to me. I remember going to my hometown where I grew up in Massachusetts, which was maybe a 10-minute walk from Boston, going there, finding my house, stuff like that, where I would have lived. And it was just crazy. I mean, you do that stuff in every game. And I don't know if that's just me. I mean, Ty just said he did it in Tony Hawk. So, I don't know if that's a weird thing or not.
Yeah.
Man, only if they made any games that are set in Indiana, maybe I would be able to. But no, not for me. But I totally understand, man. I think it is cool. When you see games like that, you can go to the old stadiums and stuff. I appreciate people who take the time. The developers and stuff who take the time out of their days and try and picture by picture put it together the way it's supposed to be. Or if they do a historical thing, one of my favorites is LA Noire.
Oh, great game.
1940s LA, man, that stuff is just so cool. I dig stuff like that. I dig, having the old signs and the old cars. I think that's something that I love about movies, set in past time periods, is the directors who really try and make it seem like you're in that time period. I think that's something that a lot of people overlook. But no, I totally understand. We just need to convince somebody to make a game in Indiana, and then we'll be set. I'll go find my house or something.
You need Larry Bird to go ahead and pitch in.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Nah, it's crazy. And I'm going to tell you a fun fact about Fallout 4, though, real quick. So I know, Tommy, you were just saying that when developers and directors take their time to really map out an area. So I'm now living in Salem, Mass, right? Maybe about a 30-minute drive from Boston. There's a city next to Salem called Lynn. And Lynn Woods is huge, right? And there's a lot of historical stuff in kind of mixed around in Lynn Woods. And so the developers for Fallout 4 were coming around, and they were saying, they went to the mayor of Lynn and said, look, we want to expand on our game more than we already have. So we want to use part of Lynn Woods. And the mayor said, we'll only allow it if you pay us X amount of dollars. They wanted to double the amount that the developers of Fallout paid for Fenway Park to map out all of Boston. They want to double that. And they were like, for one small area, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Kendall, what about you? What is, I know we kind of got off topic there. Childhood game, favorite, childhood game, stuff like that. It doesn't even have to be sports related. Let's just talk video games. What is your childhood game?
I mean, just like he said, I was a big WWE fan growing up. So I played, SmackDown, and I played a lot of wrestling games. I mean, I used to remember doing the Royal Rumble matches, or the ladder matches, a lot of last man standing. Man, you got the steel cage. It's so many memories playing wrestling matches, and that's before I got into Madden. That's how I was playing WWE games. I was a big WWE fan growing up.
I never got into wrestling, but I will tell you, SmackDown versus Raw 2007 was one of my favorite games.
Good one.
The character customization was so in depth. I remember seeing my friends, we'd create the dumbest looking people. It was just a fun time.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. It's I'll keep harping back on it. It's when I play a video game, I want something to be fun. I want to be able to just kind of lose, time when I'm playing it. And those WWE games, especially SmackDown versus Raw, and especially SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, and all the other games. It's just you really could just sit there. And even if you didn't know wrestling, I mean, people know who The Rock is. People know who John Cena is. You could just sit there and have fun, do crazy stuff, do ladder matches or do steel cage or, whatever kind of match they had, Buried Alive or whatever. I mean, it was just fun to be able to just sit down and enjoy it. And that's why, the next game that I'll go into, big football fan, is ESPN NFL 2K5. I don't know if you guys... You never got to play that one, but that is, in my opinion, the best football game that's ever been made. I think from the modes, having the crib and everything where you could kind of deck out the place and put all your favorite stuff in it, to the when that game was released, I wasn't as much of a football historian as I would say I am now. And, they had all the 25th anniversary mode where you could play all the classic games like the Ice Bowl and, 4th and 26, the Eagles and Packers game. I mean, just stuff like that really helped me understand, what was going on and all the cool moments in football. And then, I mean, the franchise mode is some of the best. I mean, the amount of stuff that you could do in that mode, you could really just get lost. And so I appreciate that people still mod it and that people still, update it with, rosters and stuff on the PC and stuff like that. But yeah, that's definitely got to be my favorite football game of all time.
So I'm going to talk about a game real quick, and I'm going to let my nerd show a little bit here. So I mean, I come off as this cool guy, whatever. I'm tooting my own horn here. Just tell me when to stop. But no, one of the games I invested so much time into was actually on the Nintendo GameCube, and it was Mario Super Sluggers.
That's a good one.
Yo, for real though, any of the Mario games where you get to play sports like Mario, Power Strikers and soccer, the Mario tennis games, to me, those are a lot more fun than half the sports games. I loved being able to play as Waluigi and like just start cranking home runs off of Bowser. Like,
For sure.
I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
That was a pretty good game. To kind of, I want to bring back up NFL later on when it's in the show when it doesn't fit. So, my game would have to be NFL Street. The Game Breakers, unstoppable. Like, I love getting to the point of going to Game Breakers and just running through the whole, football field. Like, I didn't care who was close to me. I would just run to the next guy and just run him over. And then I'll finally score the touchdown like 5 minutes later. That was just fun. That was amazing, especially when you play against somebody that's not as good, and you just get to have fun. And you always have a game breaker when you're like stacking up your points, and your opponent isn't doing like that good. So it's like, all right, now that I've kind of put my foot on your throat, let me press down a little bit. Just have fun. So yeah, I was kind of a bully with that game for sure.
So, Kendall, I know you were trying to say something right after the Mario game. I kind of got a little overlap there. So if you want to revisit that real quick.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I wasn't a big Mario fan. I had cousins and all that played it, but me and Mario, that's not a good mix. I'm more of a sports related guy when it comes to sport wrestling.
Nah, fair enough. So we have about 20 minutes left in the show. I want to go on a different route here, right? We're still gonna stay on this video game topic, but we're it's not gonna be sports video games. All right. Esports has become huge. Kids that are 13 and 14 years old are winning millions of dollars from winning tournaments in Fortnite. It used to be Halo, Call of Duty, name it. I mean, I've won some money playing video games myself. I used to be a professional Gears of War player on Xbox. I mean, that game is so. I guess what is your guys' thoughts on esports? Right now the big ones are Overwatch, League of Legends, Call of Duty, Fortnite, even Apex Legends is starting to get up there a little bit. So what are your guys' thoughts on games like that airing on ESPN, watching these tournaments? Do you consider these sports? Like, what are your guys' thoughts? We'll start with you, Kendall.
I do consider it sports from a small standpoint because just like, I mean, we're in a different time right now. When I was growing up, it wasn't no making money off these games, video games and all that you play. It wasn't none of that. So kids in today's world, like growing up, they're making money from Fortnite. I mean, Fortnite it has a big platform. A lot of people on Fortnite now. I know a lot of cousins, friends. I mean, they're on, their kids is on it. So I mean, Fortnite is really one of the biggest platforms out there right now. You got, I mean, it's a whole lot more out there. But I think mainly the Fortnite thing. I mean, it's crazy. But I do consider it a sport.
Tommy, what about you?
Yeah, I've been mentioning wrestling a lot, but I know one of the things like with them is that people kind of go back and forth on whether it's a sport, whether it's sports entertainment, all that stuff. I've been a big proponent of it should be considered, at least in some way, a sport. The amount of athleticism that it takes to do wrestling and the amount of what kind of connects the two is the amount of, training and, preparation that goes into, preparing for a match and getting ready for all that stuff. And it's the same thing for these people who do esports. It's not like they sit at home and just sit, play games all day and just, do willy-nilly like the most of us when we play. They're trying to learn the maps. They're learning the best spots. They're trying to figure out what's the best class setup, what is the best way that they can play to get to where they want to be. And I appreciate the amount of hard work that goes into all that. And, kudos to ESPN, kudos to all these networks for giving these players, a platform. Yes, they may not be doing something that is completely physical, but the amount of preparation that it takes to get ready for these games and to train for these games and to, actually have to go out to these competitions and, show up for them. It's impressive the amount of work that these players put in. I know I could never do that, but I've always thought it was cool that you could turn video games into a profession. People work so hard to do something good, and if they're good at it, why shouldn't they try as hard as they can to make it a profession? So kudos to them, and I agree. I definitely think it's a sport.
What about you, Ty?
Yeah, same. I think it's a sport. I'm gonna kind of show my nerd a little bit. So a little backstory. You know how you go to sleep and then you wake up and the channel is still on the same channel. That's kind of how, you know, it happened for me. I went to sleep watching a basketball game, woke up, and I'm watching, you know, the Justice League versus you know, Mortal Kombat game. I don't know what that game is called. I'm like, man, this is cool.
Injustice.
Yeah, Injustice. I'm like, man, they finally made it big time, right? But you know, to show my nerd a little bit, I was playing Dragon Ball Fighter Z, and if you don't know me personally,
Great game.
if you don't know me personally, I hate losing. So I'm on YouTube. I'm looking up, you know, how do I extend my combo? Like I can only reach this level, and then the players are just crazy at, you know, the demon level. So I'm just like, how do I get to that next level, you know? And I stumbled across a guy called Sonic Fox. He's actually like a legend.
I have a story about him after. Continue.
Yeah, and he's like a legend within the esports realm. So I was watching a lot of him, and you know, the Injustice tournament that I actually watched on ESPN. You know, he was the headliner, right? He was the guy to beat there, and I'm just like, man, they finally made it to mainstream sports TV. So that was great. I know that Ballers, the TV show, they actually rolled out a esports section, and you know, let that shine. Even though it's a football show, they let the esports realm shine a little bit in the last season. I'm just like, man, this is the wave of the future. Like, I'm glad that people aren't so close-minded that you need a ball in order for something to be considered a sport. As long as there's a goal, scoring system, and like some type of like tournament style, of course it's a sport.
You know, I couldn't agree more. And I got a couple of stories about both Injustice and about Sonic Fox, separate. But so I like I said previously, I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan, and I'd like to think I'm pretty good. I'm nowhere close to like the professionals. I'm not even going to try to say that, but I could play online and go on like a nice win streak and not really like lose to like randoms online. I was playing one time and I actually got paired up against Sonic Fox. I didn't believe it was him at first. When I tell you he bodied me, I did not stand a chance. I got one punch in, and I was like, the fact that he didn't just flawless victory me twice is impressive. So, like, that dude is something else. And then the story about Injustice. So, that game is made by the developers of Mortal Kombat. Little less gory, but it's the same developers. And I was at one of the bigger malls in Massachusetts, the Burlington Mall, and there's a Microsoft store there. And outside of the Microsoft store, they have Xboxes set up with like video games and stuff. And there was like kind of a long line. And so I walked by. I was like, "What's this for?" They're like, "Oh, we're having an Injustice tournament, and it's free to play. And if whoever wins a $50 gift card to the Microsoft store." I was like, "Oh, that sounds pretty cool. I'll sign up." So I signed up. Like I went back when it was time for like the tournament to start. I ended up coming in first place. There was like 10 people. And so after I beat everybody, they were like, okay, like in order to win, you have to beat the best player from our store. And like, I'm assuming this guy just sits there and plays all day. Like that's what he does for work. Like he's got to promote the game somehow and like the Xbox and stuff. So bodied him. And like afterwards, like they looked at me like, how are you so good at this? I'm like, because all I do is play Mortal Kombat. Like it's the same game. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, like I'd like to think I'm a pretty good gamer. I mean, Tyrone's seen my stats when I've played Apex Legends. I've sent him some screenshots and trash.
Go back to the drawing board. You got to get better.
Right. But I mean, these guys that play these sports, like I'll tell you from personal experience. So like I said, I'm not even going to say professional. I'll say semi-professional when I play Gears of War. And the amount of hours and practice and time you take to set aside just to get better is ridiculous. And like you'd play custom matches with your teammates to learn different combos and to learn like different ways to like learn the map. And like you hit the nail on the head. Like the effort that goes into these types of games to become good is just so difficult. It's so difficult. Yeah. My favorite thing that actually, Kendall, you'll appreciate this. I don't know if you knew this, but Robert Kraft, obviously we all know who he is, the owner of the Patriots, bought and owns an esports team. He owns the Boston Uprising.
Oh, wow.
You guys know that? Yeah.
You know that.
He owns the Boston Uprising esports team, and they're a bunch of cool dudes. I've got to talk to a couple of them. I've played Overwatch with a couple of them, like casually, not like competitively, but um, I actually tried out for an Overwatch team professionally. I almost got it, but then like I started college and I was like, I'm gonna back off. Like I want to focus on my career doing this. This is my dream right here, podcasting, writing articles, talking sports. But I almost could have been a professional Overwatch player, but it was it's cool. It's like he bought that team, he owns the rights to them, and he markets them very well. And next time you're watching a Patriots game like at Gillette Stadium, look out for it. You'll see a couple Boston Uprising signs. Even if you go to Gillette Stadium itself, you'll see Boston Uprising around there. It's pretty cool.
I'll be sure to have a look at on that.
And they play games like. Go ahead.
Yeah, before we get off, I just want to ask you, like, you said your profession, is talking sports and all that. So can you elaborate a little bit, like how three of y'all got together and how long on this podcast?
All right, so Ty and I can go way back with this. So Tommy is a newer member of Back Sports Page. So Back Sports Page is the website that produces this show. Randy Zelia gave us this great opportunity as interns to learn more about sports, write articles, start podcasting. And Tyrone and I became very, very close friends because we both started around the same time. And our journey with the website was very similar. And our experiences were very similar in terms of how we felt about things were being handled, things going forward. And so we started private messaging each other, just like venting to each other about our, like what we were thinking about the site and good, bad, everything in between. And then we were like, we should do a show together, because at this point I had started doing the football podcast, like I mentioned to you earlier, with Ryan Stern, and Tyrone and I were like, we want to do our own show. And we had our other buddy Ahmed. Unfortunately, he's not really with Back Sports Page anymore. Just from he lives a very busy life, but he was also a part of that. And so the three of us became really, really close friends. And we had reached out to Randy, and we were like, "Look, we've been here for about a year now. We want to do our own show." And we were talking about this since last November, and it took up until June, May for us to get this off the ground. So it took a long time planning, getting it kind of all of our ducks in a row. But once it took off, like we started doing really well. And that's where it came in. And then, like we said, our friend Ahmed, he kind of left, and Tommy joined us and he auditioned for us. We had a couple people who were interested, and we narrowed it down to Tommy and one other, and Tommy ended up winning. Just he was able to bring a different aspect to our show that we never had. Tyrone and I, we could talk football and basketball all day, but Tommy brings something special when he can talk about baseball. He could talk about baseball for hours, and it's impressive. It's nothing short of impressive. And so, we were like, he makes a good fit. He could talk baseball, basketball with us, and he can also talk baseball and give us an element of a show that we don't really have. So that's how we got started on this show. As for with Back Sports Page, found the link to the internship on Indeed, and it's been incredible. I mean, speaking for myself, I actually got to go to Gillette Stadium and interview Sony Michel in person.
Wow.
And so,
yeah.
That's
kind of what, Jerry did a great job telling the story. My side of the story, I pretty much wasn't doing anything for about a year. Found a link on Indeed, signed up. Randy called me on the phone, asked me a couple questions. I didn't think it was too hard. I didn't think that, I wasn't going to be able to come on the Back Sports Page and like hone my skills as a writer, because I'm not a natural writer. I didn't do English in college. I didn't even, do sports as a major in college either, because they didn't have it. But what I did have was a lot of passion for sports. I wrote for my college newspaper, and the site really helped me, hone my skills as a writer. I remember my first article sending to Bill. It's just he's the editor of Back Sports Page, and I just had marks everywhere. He was like, fix these and then put it on the site. And then as I went on, it was less and less edits, and it was more of it's perfect, send it in. And I became more confident in my writing skills. But I'm a natural, like I just want to talk. I just want to talk about sports. Like that's just I want to get all these ideas I have and just spew them out my mouth. I don't really want to have to, click the keyboard or anything like that. So this podcast actually was a saving grace for me because I feel like this is where I get to show my personality. And I feel like I have one of the biggest personalities amongst the team. Um, so that was a great opportunity, and now we're looking forward to the future, what that might hold.
I mean, like I was saying, Tommy's new, but Tommy, go ahead and tell your story about finding back Sports Page and joining the show.
Yeah, man. So I started working. I had an internship. I just graduated college. I had an internship with a professional soccer team here in Indiana, Indy 11. I still kind of work with them in a way, but I was doing writing for them, and I was, writing stories and working with the team and getting to go to training and all that. And then, everything happened in the world with COVID, and so that kind of got shut down when, everything kind of went weary. And then, I found the internship here, and I've been given an opportunity to write about wrestling and do some football and baseball stuff. And then I met these guys. They asked if I wanted to do a podcast, and or asked if anybody wanted to do the podcast, and I threw my name in the hat. And podcasting has been something that I've wanted to do for a while. I love to talk sports, as these guys can attest to. I'm very, very strong opinionated. I like to, I believe in what I say, and I like to think that I have a good way of backing it up. But man, this is something that I look forward to every time we do it. I mean, I do another I do a wrestling podcast on the website. I hop in on a few others, and it's something that I really look forward to. So yeah, this has been something that I can't thank the big man upstairs, and Randy enough for giving me the chance to do this.
Y'all stories are real similar to mine. Like I told y'all at the beginning when I came on East West Football, we came up with it in like February. So we've been together at least about 6-7 months now. We've been together for a while. And like I said, me, Jerry, and Fidel, we've been grinding. Like I told y'all, we talked with Coach Hugh Jackson. We had a great show. Jerry, I don't know if you know, it's a Patriots YouTuber. His name is Ray Roth. He's a big Patriots YouTuber.
I'm not familiar. To be honest, I don't necessarily.
He's Ray Roth, so that's what they call him. But we had him on the podcast a couple weeks ago. So like I said, we just been grinding. We have like I said, we had 3 shows a week and a special guest show every Friday. So we like this. So I mean, I'm loving it with the guys, but I would like we started as a football we was going to be a sports podcast. So we was going to do baseball, football, basketball. But I feel like I can talk football, basketball. I could talk anything. That's how I feel. So I just love the opportunity just to talk football. I don't mind just talking football with them, but like, man, basketball, I can talk basketball and football. So I'm more of that sports debater type person.
Right.
Like
and
that's my calling card.
So that's kind of the direction Tyrone and I wanted to take this show when we first started talking about it. Was we wanted to do a sports debate. Obviously, I already did the football podcast, and we figured, well, there's no need for another football show. So we were like, let's do a sports debate one. And then it turned into more just a sports discussion, and we'll tease each other, make fun of each other. I tease Tommy all the time about how he's a Denver Broncos fan. But it's fun because the conversations we have on this show, and I mean, you can go back and listen to any of our older episodes. You can listen to our more recent episode. It's never like a show. I don't want to say that. It's never like something that we've really put a script into. We're all just talking from our heart and having a good time and teasing one another, and just like, it's like we're 3 brothers just talking every week about sports, and that's all it is. And I couldn't be more thankful for this show. And like, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like my passion. And similar to what Tyrone said, I'm in college now. I have 3 semesters left. I'm going to be a super senior. But I studied journalism in school. I wanted to do journalism for a long time. I love writing. I am a writer. Obviously, when I first started to back Sports Page to now, similar to Tyrone, I would send my articles over to Bill to come back with a bunch of edits. And now half the time he doesn't even have me send it to him. He just has me post it. And it's gotten to the point where from time to time, if, Bill and Randy or whoever's busy, people send me their articles to edit them. Because that's where I'm at, just from college to now to where I'm at with Back Sports Page, and so this is my dream. This is what I've wanted to do for a very long time, and I couldn't be more grateful.
For sure.
So what would you say, y'all? That I know you say you're a journalist, and Tyrone, you've been and y'all been together for a little bit. What is the ultimate goal of that sports page? Well, what's the ultimate goal for what y'all want to do? Like long term.
So, I mean, I might as well start because I can just start rattling these off. So, for me, I can't say what the goal is for the website, right? That would be up to Randy. He's the boss. He's the founder of Back Sports Page. But for me, my dream job is, I'm sure you guys have all heard of the website, the Players Tribune.
Mm.
That is my dream job. Whoever works for that site is actually a ghostwriter, and the players will contact the writers to say, I want to tell this story, and the writer will help them write the story, edit it, make all the changes that are needed, but it's published under the player's name. That is my dream job. I don't want to be known for my writing. I don't want to be known. I want to be behind the scenes doing my thing so that these players can tell their stories. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, for me, again, I can't speak for Randy, but recently I've been talking to Randy about what we can do to actually grow the site and make it a thing, so we don't have to apply for Bleacher Report, ESPN, the mainstream things, because everybody's going after those jobs. So I was like, hey, how about for one, getting us paid, and two, like, let the world know who each writer is, and let our personalities shine. I think that's how we're gonna actually grow the site itself. So I've become like really passionate about doing that with Back Sports Page, because it was a point in time where I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna do this much longer, but it's my passion. And I've applied to the Bleacher Reports, the ESPNs, and it's just like, the waiting period for that is, the market is so saturated for that. And Randy does a really good job of putting opportunities in front of us if we work for it. So I've actually had, season credentials for the Windy City Bulls. I've went to media events for the Bulls, and got to meet their communications team. And it's just like, this opportunity could be for a lot of people, and you don't have to go to the mainstream sports outlets to do this. So that's been my main goal as of late with Back Sports Page.
No, yeah. For me, as cliche as it may sound, I got into sports. We all know that sports is like Ty said, sports is such a demanding business. It's a demanding occupation. And, for me, I got into it because I want to be the best. I want to be at the top for what I have. As my dog is barking in the background. Yeah, she's kind of losing it. She's a young one, but I mean, I got into, commentary in high school, and it's something that I wanted to do for a while. And that kind of translated here at the podcast as being able to talk and just having, a way to tell my opinion and describe what's going on in a game. And I think Ty said it best, this sports world is so saturated that you need people who are going to bring a different edge, a different kind of moxie to, what they're doing. And so for me, that's something that I want to do. And I pride myself on making sure that my writing and that, when I get on these podcasts that, I'm giving 110% effort, that, this is because it matters to me. It's something that I want to do. I want to be the best at what I do and everything. So that's definitely where I want, don't know what the future holds, but I know I want to get to the top. So, I'm not going to stop till I get there.
That's what I tell the guy. No matter, can't take no days off. What you're doing now, you're building your resume up. You're adding to your resume.
Well, that's about all the time we have, guys. I mean, we went a little over time, but that's okay. Kendall, again, thank you so much for coming on. Tyrone, Tommy, as usual, it's a pleasure, my guys. We'll obviously be in touch. This episode did not go how I expected it to, but it went a lot better than what I figured it would.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be the first person to say that. But guys, until next time, I will talk to you.
Yeah.
For sure.